This episode of Working in Music Sucks is brought to you by Plug and Alley's weekly recall newsletter. Get tips, tricks, updates on sales, and so much more weekly. You can find a link to sign up in the description of this episode wherever you're listening. Now, let's get to the show. Plug and Alley presents Working in Music Sucks, the show where we talk about what sucks about working in music so you don't have the same problems. I'm your host, John Maciel, and if you're a returning listener, glad to have you back. If you can do us a favor and drop a like if you're watching on YouTube, or leave a positive review on iTunes, we greatly appreciate it as it will help us reach more people who can benefit from this podcast. And if you're new, happy you're here. And in today's episode, my friends, we're going to be talking about something that's a hot topic for the new year. And I really wanted to pull from my own personal experiences on how to find consistent work as a audio engineer. And, from experience, we all want to record bands like 24/7, right? That's the dream. The goal is to work with bands in general and artists like all the time. But the reality is that's not always the case. And when it comes to owning your own music business, essentially, as a studio runner, is finding ways to keep the lights on and create a steady stream of income so you can have more freedom to find and say yes or no to the projects that you want to. And part of that is finding ways to diversify your income. And going into the new year, I know a lot of audio engineers are always like asking, how are you making money? How are you guys finding artists or bands or clients to work with? And I wanted to put my spin on this a little bit because I think everyone focuses on the gold, essentially, right? They look at the top of the tree and they want whatever apple's at the top, which, yeah, we all want the high-hanging fruit, but sometimes there's a lot of good that can come from getting like the low or mid-low hanging fruit. So I wanted to talk about a few of the areas I think could be really lucrative if you know how to hustle and use them and really work out in your benefit if you're an audio engineer. If you're a mixing engineer, none of this advice is really going to be for you, but I would still say that this could be helpful if you're really trying to find those one-offs or those streams of income that, a couple $100 here and there every single month that help keep the lights on and help you get new plugins and things like that, or new pieces of gear that you can use on the projects that, you are stoked on. Because what happens so often is we're so fixated on getting artists and clients that we say yes to projects we should be saying no to. And hopefully with this episode, it helps you make better decisions on who you can work with and bringing in that income. So there's one platform I've spoken about before, and I don't know why so many, at least in the rock and metal worlds, engineers just hate this platform. And it's really going to be their undoing and really hilarious to me in a couple of years when I see everyone's going to be trying to figure out how to use this platform to their advantage because they're going to see other people who figure it out. And a lot of pop and country and electronic producers and mixers and engineers have figured out this platform, and they're doing really well with collabs and finding people to work with and showcasing their resume, essentially. And if you haven't guessed TikTok, I am talking about TikTok. And as everyone thinks of it as a dance app, it's not a dance app anymore. It hasn't been a dance app in quite some time. Are there trending dances that happen on that app? Yeah, sure. But it's really a community app and a great platform to find people that are essentially interested in whatever it is you have to offer. Now, TikTok is so opposite to, Facebook, Instagram, things of that nature, because let's be honest, most people, when they, over the course of, the last few years, you post on Instagram to flex and you post on Facebook to kind of flex or complain too. But none of that is building a legit invested type of response from people on the other end. And it's not your fault. It's the platform and how the platform's been designed. And if you're paying attention to marketing and news, you can see that like Instagram and Facebook are really, really trying to change their platforms to cater to people who prefer TikTok over their platforms because it's such a different experience and it's more authentic. Now, as an engineer, you're probably wondering, okay, cool, but how do I use this to my advantage? Well, if you've ever watched or listened to Gary Vee, he always talks about document, don't create, right? TikTok is like the perfect place to do that because with Instagram, you kind of felt like this need to have it kind of polished, right? You need the picture to look kind of cool and stuff. TikTok is like opposite of that. You don't need to worry about any of that. Documenting your time working on a project or making a day of, you can make like 5 to 60-second videos, just doing like vlogs, talking about what it is that you're doing today, some helpful thing that you learned. It doesn't have to be super serious. That's the great part about TikTok, is like the less serious you take it, the better you're going to do on the platform, because people go to the platform to either be entertained or to be educated or enlightened. They don't necessarily go to like feel bad about themselves. They go on there to engage whatever content and kind of pass the time. But when they find creators or things that they enjoy, they end up really, giving more and engaging more than they would on other platforms. Now, as an engineer, you documenting yourself, because the algorithm is based on like interests, what's going to happen is that you're going to end up in a position where you're going to be in front of people who either are trying to become engineers, are really interested in it, and or singers, drummers, guitar players, other people who might need an engineer. And the great part too about TikTok is they do podcast clips on that platform. And you could hear people's podcasts and be like, oh, I can mix their audio, make them sound so much better. And you can reach out to them. You can't necessarily do that on Facebook or Instagram. The organic reach that you're able to do on TikTok is so different. So it allows for more opportunity in that regard. Also, there's collabs. There's just a lot of opportunity. I would suggest anyone listening who's an audio engineer, spend like a good, week or two on TikTok. And you can even use the hashtag like recording and stuff, and go see what people are posting. Like, people are making lucrative careers and using it as a funnel to find people to work with remotely through TikTok. And it's such a different experience. I can't recommend it enough. And I really wish more rock and metal engineers took it seriously, because in the next couple of years, a lot of engineers are gonna be like, I wish I would have paid more attention. But rock and metal is always like 5 years behind when it comes to like social trends. It is what it is. The next two are actually kind of the same thing. These ones are really, really, really helpful and really fun hacks. So if you live in a town that has like a mom and pop bookshop or a coffee shop, this is going to be great. Now, there are a lot of people out there who will do like poetry readings. So the coffee shops are great for like poetry readings, acoustic artists, singer, guitar player combos, like really more intimate type scenarios where you can really meet one or two people who are essentially the artist, the client, the band, or whatever. And these individuals tend to have more, I don't want to say disposable income, but they're more inclined to say yes to work with someone that's going to make them sound great. And because they're already performing in an intimate setting, the music already means a lot to them. So they're more inclined to put more effort into showing up. Whereas when you go to a show, it's not, I hate to say it like this, but it's like anytime I've gone to a local show to meet a local band, it's kind of like that like mini rock star syndrome. The bands are just like, they're all hyped and everything like that. But when you've got like 5 people or 4 people in a band, it's a local band, and they only play like one show a month, it's kind of like, it's tough to get them to close a deal. Whereas when you're at like a coffee shop or something, it's like the type of people who play those type of venues are a little bit more approachable and easier to engage with and talk to. So like poetry readings are great because you can be like, hey, do you write your own poetry? Maybe I can help you like get a poetry podcast off the ground where you talk about some of your great like poetry quotes. So instead of them reading only at these poetry readings in coffee shops and things like that, or local bookstores, they can create a podcast. You can use the platform called Anchor. It's completely free. Help them with it. Record them, batch record a bunch of them, edit those, and then, you just help them get those episodes out there, and they can use that as a way to like engage their audience. And if you know video and you can do video and audio, then they can use that for their social media. But you're using your audio skills, and I mean, you can use their phone for video, but you're using your audio skills to help someone make a better quality audio production so that they can like spread more of what they love. And the same thing with local bookstores. So Sometimes there are like local book authors who will self-publish their own books, things of that nature. It doesn't happen in every town, but you could find out if there's like local authors and see if they have audiobooks. Another cool hack that I learned back in my LA days is going on Amazon. And what a lot of authors will do is they'll do like self-publishing through Amazon. So essentially they send like the digital version of the book through Amazon's backend. And then when someone sees the book online and they order it, Amazon has like a print shop that will print the physical book and mail it to someone. So the author is not doing anything else besides like getting traffic to their book, people buying it. So it's a pretty low cost scenario. If you're hungry, you could look for a bunch of books and see if you can narrow down authors. Now, this will take research and time to do, but you can see if you can. The way Amazon works is you can click on the author, and usually if they have like their profile, you could figure out where to contact them or find them on social media. A lot of these people use like the same picture for everything, so you can find them on LinkedIn or Facebook. And find a way to get a hold of them, and if they don't have an audiobook, offer to render your services and be like, if they're within 100 miles, that's like a day trip. You go out there for like a weekend, record a book or two. It could take a couple of trips, but either way, you're like, I could record your book. And maybe you could do like a mini podcast and we can batch a couple episodes. Then you go back like the following month, batch a couple more episodes. That could be another way to create an opportunity for yourself with these type of things. And the book stuff does work. Like one of the studios I worked with for like a year, I think I helped edit, I don't even know how many books, but I did book editing. I think I did more book editing than like band editing, and those paid better and more than doing band stuff. So I was like, but it's so much more of like work with the book stuff because you got chapters and passages, and you have to have a lot of patience because authors, if they're reading their own stuff, sometimes they don't articulate things the best, and you have to really pay attention to everything they're saying, how they're saying it, the articulation, the flow of all that stuff. It is exhausting, but it's a good paycheck. I couldn't recommend it enough. Next one is this one. I'm giving like good hacks away. All right, so the next one is like business meetups, and if you kind of notice a theme here, I'm trying to hunt down people who have money, basically, to pay bills, who have some sort of budget or disposable income. Those are the kind of people you want to try to figure out who needs audio needs that have budgets and money so that they can pay me for my services and time. I can take that money, pay my bills, buy more gear, while I'm also going and looking for clients and artists that I want to work with and that I want to say yes to, and not being desperate to say yes to projects that are ultimately going to wear me out and make me resent music altogether. And that's the power of diversifying your audio income. So at business meetups, a lot of local towns, I know in the States this is a thing, I don't know about overseas, but I would imagine they'd have something similar like this. But Chamber of Commerce is essentially a group of businesses that come together to talk shop. Now, what you can do as an audio engineer is find out when the Chamber of Commerce is meeting and go and meet with these business companies. And your whole pitch is to see if they have any audio needs. Now, you might be thinking, well, what would a business need for audio? So, car dealership, for example, there's a lot of social media things that a car dealership could do, but this is just an example of how to think outside the box. When you go to like a car dealership website, there's an FAQ, right? Not everyone reads FAQ. What you could do is create like a podcast mini series. And each episode's like 5 to 10 minutes, and it's answering specific questions that people ask. So you can take care of the FAQ, support questions, repair questions, car maintenance questions, behind the scenes on what actually happens with the dealership, how to get a good ethical deal at the dealership, questions to ask a dealer, like all these things that people will Google, but you create a sheet, and then you can like position it to the car dealership, like, look, whenever a prospect comes visit you guys, on every person's business card, you have a QR code. Someone takes a picture of the QR code. It will link them to a podcast that they can listen to where the owner of this dealership is answering specific questions people have about buying a used or brand new car, things to be wary of. It will help build trust with the end consumer. any business can kind of do this, and you can kind of see how out of the box, but a lot of businesses don't think that way. So you have to kind of think, okay, how can I get them to say yes to me recording audio for them with their business needs? And this could be any type of business. Every business will have something like this where they can create a podcast or something. And it's not about making the podcast go viral. It's more as a substitution or add-on for their services already. But instead of like someone calling or asking, they're like, hey, like I got this car from this dealership. But what was really cool is they have like a podcast that every question I could have thought of was on there. So it was like I randomly went on there. I learned a couple of cool things on like how to negotiate, why like certain numbers work, and it was really transparent. So I felt really comfortable buying from them because I already kind of felt like I knew them. And a lot of businesses benefit from that. And they do the same thing already on like Instagram Reels and TikTok and YouTube. They're already doing that visually. All you're doing is turning this into like an audio format and convincing them to that. Local bakeries and things like that, they can create like audio book recipes essentially. And, you know, you could be like, oh, have you ever thought about doing like a audio book and then having someone make a physical PDF book? So they're going to have to find someone else to do the PDF book, but they can render you for the audio side. It's all about finding a way to press record. Like figure out what kind of business they're in and just think like, how can I make an audio version or something that they can add on as an audio thing that will help them? And, you know, if they're like a cool hotel or something like that, or a spa, you know, FAQs, like a podcast on talking about like the coolest destinations, things like that. There's a lot of potential there, and business owners have marketing budgets and they don't know how much this stuff costs. So you essentially can make your own rate. And if you have other businesses, you can be like, this is how much it would cost. And the more experience you are at doing this type of stuff, obviously you're going to have a premium, but businesses have marketing budgets. So it's a lot easier to convince them to just pay you a certain rate, because if they see the value in it and you're good at positioning yourself, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, why it would cost us more in the long run not to take this person up on their offer. So I would get out to those business meetings. I would go to local businesses. Don't just go visit and ask, do you need anything audio? Like think about their business. Go on Yelp or TripAdvisor. Like really try to do some homework and understanding their business. Go watch some YouTube videos, read comments of what people ask, and really try to get a grasp of the industry and think to yourself, okay, what is something audaically, like would a short mini podcast, would a frequently asked podcast? I know I keep saying podcast, but it's such a simple thing that really helps add value to any business that a lot of people really enjoy. And it can be listened to while they're at work and they're debating. They can do interviews with staff members within their business, so people get to feel like they know the business. I mean, people do that on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube already. They'll watch videos on businesses and, you know, people who work at certain places, like us as engineers, audio engineers. If a mixer posts a video or an interview with like their assistants, we're going to watch. So technically we're watching a video about their employee and their experiences because it's of interest to us, right? It's the same thing. Just because we don't think of it as interesting doesn't mean the people we're trying to reach won't. So that's going right there. Another one, YouTube. Now, it's not going to be in the way that you are probably thinking YouTube, where I'm like, oh, it's not going to be go make a channel. I'm going to do a whole separate episode on why most audio engineers should or shouldn't have a YouTube channel. And I'm going to go into more depth in that one. But when I say YouTube, what I mean is you don't want to focus on the YouTube channels where it's like of interest. Like when you think doing audio for a YouTube channel, most audio engineers and whenever I position this, they're like, oh yeah, like a guitar channel or something. No, like you don't want to go to a music channel, because music channels are typically broke, and or the person who's doing the channel is aspiring to be a mixer, knows how to mix, or has a person helping them already. Like they don't need you. All right. They've already started doing their thing. They don't need you. What you want to do again, who needs audio needs? So you want to think of like random weird business ideas or things, you know, like tax accounting, and go look at tax accounting videos and go see if you can find channels that are pretty engaged. Listen to the audio in the video. Is it good? Is it crappy? Is it echoey because they're only using the microphone on the camera, so it's really echoey and they have too much reverberation in the room, because the audio and videos when it comes to YouTube is really crucial and important. You could message this person or find them on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, message them like, hey, randomly came across your channel because I'm looking into taxes. I'm an audio engineer and your audio could use some help. I would love to render my services to you if that is something you're interested in. Here, I usually work with music clients, but I do know how to clean up audio for YouTube videos. So just reaching out, something worded better, right? But you want to express like how you came across the video, not that you're just like looking. Maybe even mention in the video what you learned, or in a couple videos what you learned, and that you're able to render a service for them and see what they say. And that one's going to be, there's so many YouTube channels, right? So that's just an example of like tax and accounting. What about, like woodworking or people in their garages doing like crafts and things like that? Like you really have to go find and look for just things that are random, but people are doing. What I would do is like go to like Hobby Lobby or some sort of like craft store website and kind of look up what different craft names are, and just like go on YouTube and then search how to do this, how to do that, and go through people's channels and videos and see who's active, meaning that they're posting at least 4 videos a month for the past year. That's an active channel. And then reaching out to see if they need anyone to clean up their audio or how you can help. But make sure you know how to also have them send you the files, how you receive it and how you would send it back, and all that stuff. With video, it's pretty easy. They can send you the actual MP4 and then you can bring that into most DAWs, I think, allow video nowadays. I know Pro Tools, I can bring in a video and then I can work on the audio right there and then send the audio file back. They bring that audio file into their video editor and then just either delete or mute the other track, and then they have the same audio, but it's a different audio form. So, man, these are good ones. If I was starting from zero again, I would do these again because they worked. Next one is a little... This one can work. I'm a little less enthusiastic about these ones. They did work for me at the time when like 5 years ago, these were good ones. I don't know if they're as good anymore, but like forums, Reddit, Facebook groups, and Discord servers. Now, again, you don't want to go for like where musicians are on this one. Again, we're trying to make a steady stream of income. So I would find businesses and things of that nature. So like, it's kind of like the business meetups, like the Chamber of Commerce. What are business forums and groups? What are people doing? Go see if you can find people that have YouTube channels or have social media, have podcasts, and go take a listen. These ones take a lot more groundwork to do. That's why I don't believe in them as much, because of how much research you have to do. Back in the day, that's really all we had. Like 5 years ago is not back in the day, but that was kind of how you found people. Now with the emergence of things like TikTok, I literally type in podcasts and I can just scroll for forever looking through podcasts and like listening to the audio and being like, oh, that one was bad. That one's bad. And you want to go to the bottom. You don't want to stay at the top of the search for the highly clicked ones, because obviously their audio is going to be better, but you want to go like really searching at the bottom for people who are doing content, but it's like the audio's rough in their videos and you're like, oh man. So there's been a few where I'm like, I would love to clean their audio, but I don't got the time for it. So yeah, these are just a couple helpful ways of finding clients to pay the bills while you go hunting to find those artists to work with. They're going to help you, one day do more artists you want to work with and not have to do these other little side projects. So with that, if you found this episode helpful, if you can do me a favor and share this with a friend, someone you think may find it helpful as well. If you want to keep talking about this stuff and all things music, there's a link to the show's Discord server in the description below as well. And until next time, remember, working in music sucks, but it doesn't have to, with what you've learned from today's episode. Until next time, my friends.